Hi, this is Mark Nejma, and you've met me before if you're involved with Thriva Biologics. And I want to talk to you about what's happening with the company at this point. Up on to, I guess you're right, you'll see that there was a 13G filed to the Securities Exchange Commission, pretty much pointing out that two gentlemen from Empery Asset Management now own 10%. This is a very important aspect of what's going to happen with Thriva Biologics. Number one, Empery has a reputation of shorting stocks, uh, but we may not be in a situation where they're going to short right now since the price is so low. We may be ebbing on a gigantic price increase, in which then we would be at high risk of Empery shorting. I do think that this hedge fund has been involved with Thriva Biologics and probably with the officers of the company. It's a speculation. Anything I say is a speculation. I don't have the facts. But the facts are currently that on July 31st, this company posted that they own about 10%. Now, they have a reputation of coming out and saying they own a stock after the fact they've shorted tremendously, which could be a good sign for us or could be a bad sign for us. I'm going to basically bring you to the next thing about another company I was involved with. I was involved with one of my first big wins was with OCGN. Total luck, trust me. I'm not a great investor. I'm just sort of like my freshman year of investing. But basically, they're talking here on Reddit with some facts that Empery was involved with OCGN after the company supposedly jumped from 29 cents, which is where I had it. I had about 1 million shares at 29 cents. It ran to 18. Of course, I had sold my shares at around $3 because I said, why is this company going up? They're not in the vaccine business, but yet they were boasting overnight that they had a relationship with a company in India for a vaccine. So if you read through this, and I really recommend you go to Reddit, it says, below is a picture of one of the unscrupulous short sellers' beneficial ownership reports. On December 13th, Empery Asset Management bought 1,425,000 shares. You can see the report owning 1,425,000 shares on December 13th. And if you look at the volume on that chart, the date seems to line up perfectly. What most people fail to recognize is that institutional investor was almost certainly short prior to the sudden overnight collapse, and that this purchase was actually short covering as they could deliver the shares they borrowed back to the lender. You can't prove this because hedge funds are not required to report short positions, but you can get a pretty good idea sometimes. Not always, but sometimes, and in this case, it's very obvious. Watch this. They filed a 13G on December 31st. Again, people play with numbers. 31st, July 31st. Only 2 weeks later, it shows that they sold virtually all their shares. That's kind of odd, isn't it? If they were buying those shares to go long, they would have been one bad trade. But don't you think, look at the chart again. It doesn't look like they had much room to work with, does it? Well, that's because they weren't buying the shares as some kind of investment, but rather to cover a short sale. You can see that on December 12th, the price gapped up. I don't need to read more, okay? America, people, investors all over the world, please understand that the stock market is not only about the price of stock going up, it's also about the price of stock going down. And when we're trading in these stocks and we see news and we think it's great, we are blind. I'm not blind. These just happen to be prescription glasses and they're not as scratched up as my other ones. But hear me out. If Empery is involved, most likely the management of the company is involved, and we are dealing with a tiger. Now, good crooks change their steps as they move. Okay? One time a crook will short before they own the stock or after they own the stock or whatever. They manage things. Listen, the game is not fair. Okay? Now, what do you do if you bought the stock at the equivalent of $200 a share 3 years ago? Most likely Empery has been shorting, so they've made their money. Now, if good news comes out, are they sticking around now because something good is going to happen? Well, $200 a share 3 years ago, driven down to the equivalent of where it is now, 37 cents. They've made a fortune. Now, this company, Empery, also operates a company, EMPD, which used to be symbol VLCN. And that company is in the recreational electric vehicle space. Well, they've set that company up because they own 4,000 Bitcoin, and they've created a Bitcoin treasury trying to match MSTR, who has done quite well. You've got the president behind Bitcoin, not because he's a cheat. Please, I love Trump. But because he's trying to save the American dollar, because BRICS was after, that's Brazil, Russia, India, and China, was after destroying the dollar. So that's why Trump is pro-crypto. In the meantime, these companies that have a lot of money have bought Bitcoin, and they're putting that in the bank to say that the companies are really good. That's symbol EMPD. Now, what kind of board members do we have? I got to jump to this because it's important. You got Jeff Wolf, who was the CEO of TIVC. That company's gone. Changed the name to Nighthawk, NHWK, and then changed the name to Scorpius Biotech. Where's Scorpius Biotech selling now after those people in 2020 had TIVX when it was, into the dollars? 1 cent. So where are we going to go with Thriva Biologics? We're not too sure where we're going to go because we have some really crummy, bad people, except for the scientists. I suspect, and I don't know, but I'm guessing that all these people, Krause, Wolf, and Stephen Shawcross, they've made a fortune already. They're laughing all the way to the bank. They have no feelings of responsibility. Look what they did with the recent offering, not the one, just one. They said, well, we got 3 million shares we're going to sell. The one prior to that, where they sold 7 million or 6 million, 68 or 6,800,18180 shares, in which they said, we'll give you this warrants half price, which made the stock half price. Okay? So these are criminals. These are not people that are very nice people. Now, unless somebody has some video porn tapes on Shawcross and company, I guess Stephen Shawcross is just a mean, nasty person, and the rest of the board are a bunch of assholes, including the attorney, who I've called a fat-ass attorney before, and they just don't give a shit about the shareholders, which is why are they even on the stock market? So anyway, let's get back to it. All right, so we know that Empery is a short seller, and they've been involved a long time. You now know about EMPD. You can expect that stock price to go down since it's now $10 right after reverse split. If you want to get in on the fun, go short on the stock. I don't know. Listen, you got to do whatever you got to do with your own money. Let's take a look at another company, TIVC. TIVC is now dealing with Jeff Wolf. Jeff Wolf supposedly got a contract to manufacture drugs for TIVC. Okay? Now, oddly enough, there's a person named Laura Wolf who was the CFO at TIVC. So a little hanky-panky there, at least in the last name territory. And TIVC is now, I think, $4 or $5, whatever. Who knows? If Empery's involved with that, you're going to see it's short sales and reverse splits there as well. So, this little club of crooks, they all play together. So just heads up on that. Now, let me go to the next little tab here so I can figure out where my mouse is. Bear with me. because I got 4 screens and getting the mouse in the right place is always just a hassle. Oh, God. Anyway, let me talk about Jeff Wolf a little more. I met him. Of course, he didn't introduce himself as Jeff Wolf. He said, I'm just hanging around here. I have a contract manufacturing company. And, it's really hard. We're not going to go ahead with C. diff phase 3 trial. It's too hard. It's too expensive. We need 80,000 people to get the C. diff approved, with a phase 3 trial. So we're just going to do a small trial, which they did. Now they have a patent on C. diff, and as it turns out, there's Jeff Wolf. As it turns out, the patent ends up ending in the 26th next year, 2026. So we're kind of screwed with that too. Even though we probably have a cure for C. diff, which is a huge opportunity and would save a lot of lives, we didn't go ahead with it. We jumped into VCN. So let's look at Jeff Wolf. He gets involved as the CEO with Heat Biologics. He's involved with, of course, Scorpius. He's now the CEO there. Supposedly he's Jeff Wolf 88 builds cutting-edge biotech companies. Jeffrey Wolf started his career as an entrepreneur while attending NYU Law. He is a bankruptcy attorney. And so let's read what he's got to say here at NYU Law. Jeff Wolf 88 built cutting-edge biotech companies from the ground up. Since then, Wolf has founded multiple companies, and most recently Heat Biologics, a NASDAQ-traded biopharmaceutical company based in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, where he is the founder, chairman, and CEO focused on activating immune system to fight cancer and other diseases. Cancer! Wait, Thriva Biologics. Cancer! Thriva Biologics. Cancer. I figured a law degree would give the foundation to start new companies. And how about destroying new companies too, Jeff? Is money really what you love, Jeff? Or are you trying to cure cancer? During the 3 years of law school, he expanded the company from a customer base of NYU students, brilliant dorm room stuff, to students nationwide before shelving the business to enter an MBA program at Stanford University. Did you ever see these really smart guys? They get the test right easily, but they also get drunk on the weekends, and they're getting high and they just want to experience life. I guarantee this guy's the same way. Guaranteed. Anyway, let's move on, okay? Jeff Wolf, one of our board members that we can't get rid of because we are only told about removing board members a day after you have the chance to remove them. Think about that, people. Now, let's go back to what we were talking about before, and if I would stop moving this mouse, we might get somewhere. Let's see if I can get back up here. I want to take a look at the holdings of Empery and see it on Fintel, what exactly is happening. But I can't get back to that page. Basically, we know they have several holdings in the millions of shares. It's their game. It makes sense. Verify that we're human. Okay. We're waiting for Empery Management. Here we go. Okay, let's look at their holdings. Top increases in the quarter. They've got Unifi, blah, 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 biopharma. A lot of biopharma. They know that this sector is easily manipulated. You should take note of everything they have going here, because one thing that's definitely going to happen with Empery, which is how they got 4,000 Bitcoins, is they're going to run the stock down, reverse split, have it run up again, and then do it again. Okay, unless they truly have a scientific discovery. So they know how to manipulate things. You ever go to a casino and you see these guys playing roulette and they're winning? That's the only people you should be on top of, right? So these guys have a game plan, criminal minds, I guess, if they're able to do this so easily. And you should really pay attention to what they have. So take note of this, get yourself some Fintel information and pay attention to what's happening with these guys, because this is the kind of roulette game you want to follow. Now let's take a look at what they just recently did. 724 Vulcan, that's the company they took over, which is now EMPD. They got 2 million shares, 2,625,000 shares. I'm telling you that stock is going to go down. They own 5%, just like they own 5% of TOVX. Maybe they're going to run it up, and then maybe they're going to run it down again. But we know that's what they do, pretty much. So CYN, CR, Critical Metals Corp, all these 13Gs. These are the hot things you got to pay attention. Tonix Pharmaceuticals, they own 8 million shares there. Again, it's all based on percentage. I guess they have about 4% or 5%. But look what they have, okay? Look at the percentage of ownership. Look, it's a pattern. It's a pattern. You have to understand the way people operate. Everybody lifts their butt cheek when they're wiping their ass a certain way. It doesn't change. And that's what's happening here. Pay attention to what they got going on. Let's go down here to see what they got with Thriva Biologics. So, VLCN, 6%. 10%. I guess when it's 10%, like Green Lane Holdings, that might be going up. That symbol's GNLN. Thriva Biologics, now at 10%. XTIA Aerospace, now at 10%. I'm going to guess that when they're up around there, they're going one way or another. Okay, so keep your head on straight. Now, this video is getting a little bit too long. I just want to end it here and say, listen, you're not stupid because you bought TOVX or synthetic biologics. You followed the science. You saw they were involved with C. diff. You saw that they had another drug that made chemo less painful. But what you didn't see was that your girlfriend had hair on her legs, like a bush. And you couldn't tell because it was under the covers. And I don't give a shit. People are grossed out by that. But you just didn't know enough about her. And you dated her. Okay? So, you know what? Don't be pissed off at yourself. You own the stock. Forget about hoping for the best. Just learn from this. Learn that the stock market is meant to go up, and there's people that like to make it go down, and that's the newest trend now. So doing research and listening to stupid people like me do videos makes sense. You got to have a reporter out there. You got to have people digging and finding out information. And when you see companies like this, Empery, tag them. Tag them and make sure you remember what they're doing and what their strategy is. Because like I said, everybody lifts their butt cheek a certain way and wipes their ass a certain way. They don't change it up. This is Mark from Newsweed.com. Have a great day. Now I got to try to turn this off. Ay, ay, ay.